Imagine pulling up to a set of traffic lights in something that costs the same as a well-spec'd family saloon. The person beside you has no idea, and then the lights go green. And behind you, there is a naturally aspirated 5.2-liter V10 engine producing 520 horsepower, screaming toward 9,000 revolutions per minute with a sound that makes people stop walking and just stare. That car is the Audi R8. It went out of production in 2023. And right now, in 2026, it might be the best used supercar deal on the planet. Let's talk about why. The Audi R8 was first introduced in 2006, and the automotive world was immediately confused because this was Audi, the company that made sensible executive saloons and practical estate cars, the company whose entire identity was built around understated sophistication. And here they were with a mid-engine supercar that looked like it belonged on a racetrack in Le Mans. It made no sense. And it was absolutely brilliant. The R8 shares its platform, its engine, and much of its DNA with the Lamborghini Gallardo. That is not a coincidence. When Volkswagen Group acquired Lamborghini in 1998, they gained access to some of the finest supercar engineering in the world. The R8 was the direct result of that access. You were essentially getting a Lamborghini-adjacent supercar with an Audi badge, Audi reliability, and crucially, Audi running costs, or at least significantly lower running costs than the Lamborghini itself. Now, before we get into what it costs and whether you should buy one, let's talk about what the R8 actually is, because this matters. The R8 comes in two engine configurations. The entry point is a 4.2-liter naturally aspirated V8 producing 430 horsepower. This version is the one you will find most commonly on the used market at the lower end of the price range. It is fast. It is genuinely fast, 0 to 62 miles per hour in around 4.6 seconds. It sounds excellent, and for many people it is more than enough car, but it is not the one people dream about. The one people dream about is the V10. The 5.2-liter naturally aspirated V10 produces 520 horsepower in the standard R8 V10 and 570 horsepower in the Plus variant. 0 to 62 miles per hour in 3.5 seconds for the standard V10 and 3.2 seconds for the Plus. Top speed of 317 kilometers per hour for the Plus, and a sound, and this is important, a sound that is almost impossible to describe fairly without just telling you to find a video of one at full throttle and listen for yourself. It is one of the greatest engine sounds ever produced in a road car. At high revs, it crosses from mechanical noise into something closer to music. That is not an exaggeration. The Audi R8 V10 at 9,000 revolutions per minute is genuinely, objectively, one of the finest soundtracks in the history of the automobile. Let's talk interior, because the R8 is not just fast. It lives somewhere between sports car and luxury car in a way that very few vehicles manage convincingly. Step inside and you are immediately struck by how well everything fits together. The seats are low and supportive. Proper sports seats that hold you in place through corners without feeling like instruments of torture on a longer drive. The dashboard layout in earlier cars is simple and driver-focused. The steering wheel sits at the perfect height. Everything you need to drive the car is within easy reach, and in the later generation R8 from around 2015 onward, you get Audi's virtual cockpit digital instrument display, a large configurable screen directly in the driver's eyeline that shows speed, revs, navigation, and media information in a way that is genuinely beautiful to look at. The main infotainment screen is controlled through Audi's MMI system, which is logical and easy to learn. Apple CarPlay was added in later models. Heated seats are standard on most specifications. The materials throughout, leather, Alcantara, aluminum, feel like a car that someone designed carefully rather than assembled quickly. One thing worth understanding about the R8 interior is the visibility. Mid-engine supercars often sacrifice rear visibility for aesthetics. The R8 manages this better than most, partly because of its glass engine cover. You can actually see the engine from inside the cabin, which never gets old, and partly because the overall design gives the driver a reasonably good sense of where the car ends. Now, let's talk about something that surprises almost everyone who has not driven an R8: daily usability. The R8 has a front boot, a proper one, with a reasonable amount of space for a weekend bag. Combined with a small amount of storage behind the seats, it is genuinely usable as a car you could drive every day. The suspension, particularly in non-Plus variants, is firm but not brutal on normal roads. The clutch, if you opt for the older S-tronic automated manual, is a point of discussion among owners, as it can feel jerky in slow traffic. The S-tronic dual-clutch gearbox in later cars is significantly better in this regard and transforms the everyday driving experience. In the S-tronic version, the R8 does not demand anything unreasonable from you in stop-start city traffic. It just sits there, happy, waiting for you to find a road that suits it. And when you find that road, and this is the part that people underestimate, the R8 does something remarkable. It makes you feel like a better driver than you probably are. The Quattro all-wheel drive system provides traction and stability that allows you to access a significant portion of the car's performance without needing to be a professional racing driver. The steering is direct and communicative, the brakes are powerful and progressive, the chassis is balanced in a way that inspires confidence rather than demanding it. Very few supercars at any price achieve this combination of genuine performance and genuine accessibility. Now, the question you actually came here for, what does it cost? In 2026, a used Audi R8 V8 can be found in the $25,000 to $40,000 range depending on mileage, specification, and condition. A V10 from around 2012 to 2015 typically sits between $40,000 and $65,000. A second-generation V10 from 2015 onward starts at around $60,000 and climbs toward $100,000 for very low mileage, high specification examples. A V10 Plus from the later generation in excellent condition can push beyond that. Compare those numbers to what a new Lamborghini Huracan, effectively the R8's more exotic sibling, Top-Rope, costs. You are looking at a minimum of $250,000 for a new one. The R8 gives you roughly 80% of that experience depending on who you ask at a fraction of the price. Here is the other thing worth understanding. The R8 is the last naturally aspirated V10 supercar that Audi will ever make. Production ended. The platform is gone. And as the world moves toward electric and hybrid performance cars, naturally aspirated high-revving engines are becoming a dying breed. What that means for the R8 is that the cars which exist right now are all that will ever exist. And historically, when a genuinely great naturally aspirated sports car goes out of production for good, values do not tend to stay low forever. The early Porsche 911, the Honda NSX, the Ferrari 358, all of them are worth significantly more today than they were in the years immediately following their production end. The R8 may well follow the same trajectory. Running costs are a legitimate consideration. Insurance will be higher than a standard saloon. Tires are expensive. Servicing requires a specialist or a main dealer. Brake pads are not cheap. If something goes mechanically wrong, repairs are not inexpensive. The S-tronic gearbox in earlier cars is a known area of concern, and replacement is costly. For this reason, many buyers prioritize the S-tronic dual-clutch cars from 2015 onward, or seek out the manual gearbox versions, which are rarer and increasingly sought after. A pre-purchase inspection from an independent Audi or supercar specialist is not optional. It is essential. A good inspection will check the gearbox, the cooling system, the condition of the Haldex all-wheel drive unit, and the general maintenance history. The R8 rewards owners who have looked after them and punishes neglect in ways that can become expensive quickly. So, should you buy one? If you want a naturally aspirated V10 supercar with daily usability, genuine driver engagement, a cabin that feels properly finished, and the kind of sound that makes strangers stop in the street, and if you are willing to do your homework on the specific car you are buying, then yes, the Audi R8 in 2026 is extraordinary value for what it is. There will come a point, and it may not be far off, when people look back at the current used R8 market and ask themselves why they did not buy one when the prices were still here. This is one of those rare moments where the gap between what a car costs and what it actually is has become genuinely significant. The R8 has not become less of a car since it went out of production. If anything, it has become more of one, because we now know that nothing like it will ever be made again,